Hey guys, welcome back. This is video 3 of my Fire Emblem 3 Houses walkthrough on Maddening and the Blue Lion House. We're starting off here on Chapter 7, the Battle of the Eagle and Lion. If you're not there yet, go ahead and watch one of the previous 2 videos. They'll help you out there. So, let's go ahead and get started. So right away, first day of the month here, you can see that Lysithea has decided to join my house, which is fabulous. That means that I now can get all the XP that she gets from kills. Previously, if she got a kill, the experience would not be kept anywhere, it would just be kind of lost. But now, she can actually retain it. Next, on Friday, Dedu and Dimitri will come and talk to you about the upcoming battle here, mock battle between the 3 houses. They will also inform you that both Hanneman and Manuela will be sitting this one out. Manuela because she's still recovering from last month's events, and Hanneman because Manuela is sitting out. Then it leaves you to question whether you should sit out or not. You don't get a choice. You will be participating in it regardless. And the other 2 professors will be encouraging you to do that as well. Not that you have a choice, as I said. Then we will finally reach the weekend, at which point I would highly recommend, since there are all those activities happening on that day, go ahead and visit the monastery. Go explore. Do everything you need to do. I would definitely take advantage of all those activities that are going on, so like eat food in the dining hall, all that good stuff. Make sure you fish, make sure you talk to everybody, return lost items, gather quests, complete quests if possible. Just all those general things. No real story elements happening in this one. Required story elements forcing you to explore the monastery. This one's all just for fun and also to gain experience and to build support. After finishing that weekend, go ahead and do your lesson planning. Again, this is all tailored to you. Do what you want. And then you'll move on to the next weekend, in which I would recommend doing some more battles. In this case, I'm going to focus on 2 quest battles, but they're both really easy quest battles, as you can tell by the level recommended and the level that my units are all currently at. Yours should also be at the same point, so if you're doing these same missions, then you should have no problem, like I did, and you really don't need to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and skip it. First, as a quick note here, I finished classing everybody up to the intermediate level classes. I needed to wait, another month so I could buy more of the intermediate seals from the marketplace. So make sure to do that, buy them, and put them in the convoy, so that way then you can use them with everybody. And so the 3 people I needed to finish out were Dimitri, who I classed as a mercenary, Mercedes, who I classed as a priest, and Annette, who I classed as a mage. So quickly moving on now through the 2 battles here. And then we'll go ahead and move back into the next Monday, in which it's time to lesson plan again. So again, up to you, do what you need to do, and then moving on to the next weekend. So for this weekend, I elected to do a seminar, and I'm going to do Catherine again, so that way I can do brawling and sword fighting, and it also encompasses 6 people, which is the most you can fit in a seminar. And then we're back to another Monday, you know what to do. Then we will head into the last weekend of the month, in which I'm going to do some more battles. I'm going to do an auxiliary battle first, which I'll skip. Then I'm going to do a paralogue battle, which is War for the Week, which is Dedu's paralogue battle. So first, we'll skip through the auxiliary battle here, and then we'll head up into War for the Week. In the interest of time, I'm not really going to delve into the story behind all of these paralogues. I'll just go pretty much straight to the battle. So here we are at the preparation screen, and I'll just tell you here about the victory conditions. So there is an interesting defeat condition in this one. The victory condition is pretty straightforward, just defeat the enemy commander. The defeat condition is, well, the first part of it is pretty simple. It's either Dedu, Byleth, or Dimitri falls in battle. That's pretty typical. But the other interesting part is that if any of the allied troops that are not under your control, so the green guys at the top of the screen, if any of them defeat the enemy commander, you lose as well. So you have to try and do a balancing act here. You can't run too fast or you'll die, or you can't go too slow and the allied troops will move through and defeat the enemy commander before you get there. So you can only bring 8 units in this particular battle, so you have to choose them wisely. Byleth and Dedu have to be part of this battle. Interestingly, Dimitri does not, despite how pivotal he seems to be in this particular paralogue. But, choose who you want, bring who you want. In this case, I'm going to bring along all of the Blue Lions except for Dimitri, who I'm going to make an adjutant. So adjutants, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but adjutants are characters you can assign to be under other characters in battle. They can't make attacks themselves. Well, not ones you can control. They just randomly can attack or defend or heal depending on what type of troop they are. And it also gives them experience at a lower rate than you would get normally, but they still can get experience while being under you without being actually out there on the field. So when you start this battle, you're going to need to make your way to the commander who's in the bottom left of the map. In order to do that, you're going to have to take the narrow path that leads a little bit to the left, then it goes down, and then it goes back over to the left. There's also that group of enemies at the top, which makes sure that you can't just immediately run that direction. So you're going to need to kind of wall yourself off to survive the attack from the left and from the north. So push units towards and into the trees, and then also put one unit to block that square where the knights are. Then just wait your turn out. When it comes back to your turn, just dispatch of as many enemies as you can, and then if there are any left over, just wait that turn out and defeat the remaining enemies. Once that group of enemies is defeated, go ahead and start moving carefully down south. You'll encounter more enemies there, and then eventually more enemies will keep coming towards you from where the commander is at. So make sure you position yourself carefully and make sure not to overextend yourself. So, without further ado, let's keep this going. Now this group of enemies may look daunting down there, but half of them are going to go back up and attack the allied troops that just broke through every other troop that was up there. So you're only going to have to fight about half of these, and the rest of them will be fought by the allied troops. So no worries there. Just keep doing what you're doing, keep moving down, defeat them as you go, and try and get to that commander. So I'm not entirely certain what causes the army to retreat, but when I defeated the last enemy they were fighting, they went ahead and left anyway. I think it's because most of the enemies had already been defeated on the map, so they didn't decide to attack the commander, which was fortunate, because they definitely would have beat me to him. So now that they've left, the only thing left is that turn limit that you need to keep an eye on, and then you should be able to clear it no problem. After defeating the commander, the level will end. You'll then be led into one little cutscene to finish up the paralogue, kind of wrap it all up. It'll be Dedue and Dimitri talking with the enemy commander. They, convince them to retreat and not attack the kingdom army, and say that there is change coming once Dimitri assumes the throne, and that does eventually convince the commander to walk away and not continue fighting. Now it's time for the battle at the end of this month, which is the Battle of Eagle and Lion, which is basically just a bigger version of the Battle of Three Houses that happened at the very beginning of the game. So you'll go into a quick little cutscene talking about how you guys want to win and how they trust you to lead them through it. Then we'll go ahead and get started. So this battle has a couple of things that are different than the other ones that you're going to need to keep tabs on, or this will become impossibly difficult. Number one, there is a ballista right in the middle of the map, usually monitored by Bernadetta, unless you are the Black Eagles. And so in the center, she'll sit there. She has quite the range with that and will most likely hit. Definitely keep your Pegasus Knight, if you have one, out of there. Everybody else can be in there. They're going to be hit, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to need to take hits every turn. So be careful about that. The other thing you need to keep in mind is that the two houses, when they start to fight each other, will gain buffs every time they kill. I'm not sure how many it is, maybe 2 or 3 units of anybody. They get a buff, and so then they get a little bit stronger and they get a little bit tougher to kill. And so if you let them all fight each other first before you do anything, you are going to end up facing some ridiculously tough enemies, and you will die. So definitely get involved. You can't just hang back. You got to get involved. The other thing is that, luckily, your units do not die in this one because it is a mock battle. The units will just simply retreat, and so you do not have to keep everybody alive to win this battle. So with all that in mind, you're going to have the Black Eagles on the left, the Golden Deer on the right, and everybody is going to just kind of wait till you make your first move. Then they'll start fighting each other. They'll start fighting you. And of course, as always, the students are going to be way tougher than any of the regular enemies that are hanging out. Something that is funny to note here is that any of the units that you have recruited to your house will have a replacement troop that will be much weaker than the actual student would have been if they were there. So since I have Lysithea, they have instead an Alliance General. That's who it is, Alliance. They have an Alliance General over there who is a mage, who is much weaker than Lysithea would have been had she been there. But it's funny because now they have just a general as opposed to the actual student. So, keeping all of that in mind, let's kick this thing off. Make sure that you check out your pre-battle wheel, select any abilities you want, assign any battalions, buy any battalions you want, change out all your weapons, make sure that they're all healed, make sure everybody's got the combat arts you want, check everything, and make sure that you have the units you want to bring with you. Once you have all of that finally prepared, let's go ahead and take this thing on. Now, there are many ways to approach this battle. You could attack to the left, to the right, right down the middle, all three at once. Definitely not recommended. But in this particular instance, I'm going to go just to the right and focus on attacking Ignatz over there. I would probably never attack the left side. Just those Pegasus Knights and Ferdinand and Petra, it can all be a little bit much to handle at once. So I would definitely recommend either going to the right or down the middle. Or if your troops are strong enough, you could consider splitting them up between the middle and the right side. But in this case, I didn't feel comfortable with that, so I just went entirely on the right side. Make those Pegasus Knights and Ferdinand come to you. I did misspeak earlier. It turns out they will attack each other without you getting involved. But make sure they don't get too involved before you get in there, or like I said, you're going to be in for a world of hurt. While I was setting up for my attack on Ignatz, I found out that I was in the range of Lorenz, and I decided that that was a good thing since I could lure him away from the rest of the fray and get that kill for myself. So I left people across the river on every turn to keep luring him back towards me so that nobody else would attack him and he wouldn't attack other people. Then I got myself ready and I attacked Ignatz. After defeating Ignatz, the Black Eagles decided it was their turn to start moving, so Ferdinand, his 2 Pegasus Knights, Petra, and Dorothea all started making their way up the bridge on their side to come around from behind and attack me. While they were making their way across, I decided to finish off the rest of Ignatz's bodyguard, and I tried to finish off Lorenz, but unfortunately, Marianne got in the way and healed Lorenz most of what I'd already done to him, which was extremely disappointing, I'll tell you that. With Lorenz now as the only actual troop in attack range, I decided to back away and let the rest of the Ferdinand entourage come and attack me, and I'll let Lorenz be for the time being, especially now that Marianne decided she would heal him. An interesting thing here is that the Golden Deer house was absolutely kicking the trash out of the Black Eagle house, and if it hadn't been for me attacking the Golden Deer would be up the most units at this point. Now that those 2 Pegasus Knights had reached me, I just attacked both of them and dispatched them pretty easily while waiting for the rest of Ferdinand and co. to come and catch up with me. Now in the meantime, the Black Eagle butt whooping by the Golden Deer continued to occur, and that actually lured Claude off of his attack pedestal to finish off Hubert. And at this point now, they're only left with Edelgard and Linhardt standing strong still at their base, and Petra, Dorothea, and Ferdinand, who are all charging towards me. But also, the Golden Deer decided they would get involved, and so now Leonie and Hilda have made their way up towards me, and Lorenz is off on his own on a suicide charge against Edelgard to get her off her pedestal as well, I guess. Anyway, the point being, there's a lot more Golden Deer, and now they're all deciding they're going to attack me now because they've kind of run out of Black Eagles to attack. So this is going to start to become a bit more difficult. So as you can see, all the Golden Deer are continuing to make their way up towards me. They're coming from the right side. I thought I was going to get pincered between them and the Black Eagles on the left side, between Dorothea and Petra. But those 2 have decided that they're just going to stay over there by those trees, which is fine by me. I'll get to them later. So instead, I'm going to get things ready and take care of Raphael, Marianne, and Claude, who are all coming up that right side there. So I weathered the storm there, took care of them, and funny enough, now the goal of the year are completely eliminated and they won't be winning, even though they were absolutely kicking everybody's trash. Now it's time to focus on Linhardt and Edelgard, who are both actively coming towards me, and then lastly we'll take care of Dorothea and Petra, who are too busy hanging around the trees to do anything. This was kind of interesting because Petra and Dorothea didn't seem to care that I walked into their attack radius, and it made me very concerned because I was like, at what point are they going to attack me? But it didn't seem like ever, so I just went ahead and moved in kind of close and then moved everybody in and finally did a final rush attack before they could decide they were going to attack me. So I defeated Dorothea and Petra and won the level. We also defeated more enemy units than the rest of the other houses, so we got the award, which was a Blessed Lance. This leads you into the next month's mission, which is to check out a strange occurrence at Ramire Village. This is the village that you started the game at, and because of that, Joe will be joining you on this next mission. Because it's a new month, it's time to go back to doing monastery activities. Not my favorite part of the game, I much prefer the battles, but this is a very crucial part of it, or otherwise the battles will be not fun. At some point after that, you'll run into Dimitri, you'll have a little chat with him and find out that Edelgard is his stepsister. Coming back to important during the month matters, it's now the weekend, so I'm going to go ahead and visit the monastery. And now into the second weekend, I'm going to do a seminar here. And now finally, on the third weekend, I'm going to do some battles. I'm going to start by finishing up this last quest battle I have. And then I'm just going to do an auxiliary battle, because I'm too weak for the paralogue battles as of yet. And let me tell you, those things are pretty tough. So if you do not have the level it recommends, at least, I would definitely not recommend taking them on. Now we finally reached it, the end of the month. It's time for our mission, the Ramire Calamity. And now welcome to Ramire Village, where at least half the village wants to kill you. Half the village has been afflicted and is now rampaging around, killing all of the normal villagers. The mission here is to kill the rampaging villagers to save the unafflicted villagers. And there's also some other enemies just kind of watching and keeping tabs on everything. Your goal is going to also be to take them out. After you've done a little pre-battle preparation, it's time for the main event. Except apparently this is what happened when I tried to record my screen. Apparently it just didn't record at all and just recorded a black screen, which is exciting. So I apologize, but there is no video of the Ramire Village. I guess what I'll do instead is I'll just talk through mostly what happens. So there are, I think, 4 regular villagers that are just hanging around that need saving. There's one in particular that I don't think you're going to be able to save. Anyway, point being, you're going to need to fight all of the crazed villagers first. Then you're going to need to start making your way towards Solon, who's hiding there in the back. So as you push your way through, you're going to eventually come across the Death Knight. He's going to just show up. He's going to be on the far left side of the map. So if you're careful, you should be able to take down Solon before he gets involved. Now, alternatively, you can fight him if you really want to. You can try and get the Dark Seal off of him. You can kill his entourage. I probably wouldn't. That's a pretty tough battle that I don't think mostly you're ready for yet. Could be wrong. Anyway, I would probably focus on just taking out Solon and getting through this mission before the Death Knight gets involved. And here we are. Welcome back. We have video again. So, moving on to the next month. We have another 3 weekends to use here, so let's get going. I'm going to visit the monastery. It's the first weekend of the month. It's when I like to do it, and this month is no different. There is an important quest of notice in this month, and that is the White Herring Cup. The actual competition of the White Heron Cup will occur sometime later in the month, but this is when you'll actually need to prepare for it. So to do that, you'll talk to Rhea to unlock it, and then you'll need to talk to all of your house members to determine who you want to perform the dance. Now this is important because whoever does the dance, if they win it, they unlock a new certification called the Dancer. And this class enables you to perform the special dance that enables a person to take a second action on their turn, essentially giving up the action of the person performing the dance to the person who the dance is being performed for. So you could even have Byleth perform 2 actions in the same turn. It's pretty useful. And also they can use magic, so that's also a benefit. So after you've selected who you want to do it, you're going to need to select somebody with a high enough charm, by the way. If you don't know how to find that, just go into the menu, select roster, and then you'll be able to click on any person you want and check out their charm. I can't remember off the top of my head what charm level you need to be at, but I'm pretty sure Manuela will tell you. And so you also are going to get a significant charm bonus just from performing the quest. You'll get to perform a special practice time with the person you've chosen, and they get a boon of charm. I don't remember how much. And you can also, eat some of the things you've grown in the garden and stuff to improve the charm there as well. There are ways to do it. Pick whoever you want, but pick someone who makes sense. I'm going to pick Annette because she already is a magic type class, so this kind of fits in nicely. And also her movement gets to be bumped up to 6, which is really nice. With your dancer selected and the monastery phase ended, it's time to move on to weekend number 2. I'm just going to do a seminar here, so I'm going to keep it nice and short and sweet. And then come the 16th, it's time for the White Heron Cup competition. So you're going to see your 3 judges, Alois, Manuela, and Shamir. Manuela promises to be impartial. Not so sure about that, but, whatever. And then the competition begins. You'll see 2 members of the other houses representing, obviously, the other houses, and then you'll see your candidate. And at the end, they'll go ahead and vote. They pretty much will never be unanimous. So if you win, it's going to be by a vote of 2 to 1. And if you've done the right thing and got enough charm, you should win, no problem. Now that I have my new dancer, I'm going to put her immediately to the test by doing a pair of battles on this next weekend. Both of these are going to be paralogue battles, and in these I'm going to cover more than I do with the quest battles and the auxiliary battles where I don't cover anything. But I'm not going to go into as much detail as the main missions because I want to save some time here. So I'll go through the main points of what's mostly important, and then we'll just kind of skim through the rest of it. Alright, let's do this. Up first, I'm going to do Sylvain's Paralogue, The Forgotten, simply because the level is low enough that I could actually do it. It's a level 17. My units are level 17s, roughly, or something like that. And so I won't be absolutely obliterated when I try these things, because I've tried some before on lower difficulties, and they are very difficult if you are below the suggested level. So just take it from me, wait until you're at least that level, and you'll have a much easier time. Now for this mission, you're going to get to use a cool 11 units, which is nice, but they're going to be split into 2 separate groups, one of 6 and one of 5, on opposite sides of the map. So do be careful on how you break yourself up there, because you don't want to end up with a weak group and a strong group, and have the weak group get killed. So in the briefest terms, this mission is to rout the enemy. There are going to be 4 points, though, at which some of the thieves who are carrying stolen items can escape. If they escape, you don't get the items they're holding, but you don't lose, so don't fret. Don't try and, get yourself absolutely killed going over there. Instead, focus on each group individually. They won't all come and attack you, so you don't have to worry about that. So just focus on one group at a time. The 2 groups I decided to attack right off the start were the one to the immediate north of my group of 6, and the one to the immediate south of my group of 5. Once those 2 strongholds were knocked out, I then moved my squad of 6 to the right and took out the upper right, and I moved my squad of 5 down to take the bottom left. And so with all 4 strongholds defeated and all the enemies routed, I finished the level. Now there are 2 main reasons to complete these paralogue battles. The first is to get a lot more experience than you would just doing an auxiliary or quest battle. The second is that you get really good rewards. For example, I got the Lance of Ruin here, which is the hero's relic of the House of Gautier, which is Sylvain's house. And now I have access to that relic in future missions. And for the second battle that I was able to do this month, because I had high enough professor level, I just decided to go for one of the auxiliary battles. Then comes the month's festivities, which you can see on either ends of the mission. And there, is some eating, there's some dancing, there's some other stuff going on. if you visited the monastery and talked to the gatekeeper, the guy right in front of the entrance hall, then you can pick someone to meet in the goddess tower, otherwise it will pick for you. In this case, I chose Lysithia. There's a little extra cutscene, doesn't really mean a whole lot. Anyway, it's all part of the festivities. Then once those wrap up, it's time to get into the mission. So for this month's mission, you're going to be fighting only demonic beasts, and Geralt will be along with you, as Alois is going to point out here. So for this mission in particular, I'd really look at your combat arts and abilities. Well, most of the combat arts, and I'd make sure that they all have something that can be Bane of Monsters or something of that kind so you can do more damage. Also make sure all of your battalions are healed up and replenished, and make sure that everybody has a battalion, because that is crucial to defeating these demonic beasts. Once that's all ready to go, let's get right into the meat of this level. There are 3 students stationed all around. One's close, the other 2 are way far away. I would not worry too much about saving them. It's not necessary. You get bonus items if they are saved, but I mean, it's pretty difficult to get through these guys as it is, so adding that time component, it's really not worth it. For my strategy, I usually like to take all of my units left and take down those 2 demonic beasts and save that student and let Geralt do his thing in the center, and then eventually come back and help him. Don't take too long, or Geralt will kill himself upon the demonic beasts, and then that is game over. So here's some important information about demonic beasts that will make this level a lot easier. Demonic beasts have 4 barriers, 1 in each tile that they occupy. Each barrier takes 2 hits to destroy if using conventional weapons. If you use a combat art that has a bonus against dragon units, it will break the barrier immediately. If you use a weapon that is depicted on the demonic beast as the weakness, then you will also break it in 1 hit. You can also break it in 1 hit if you use a gambit. The gambit will break the square immediately in front of the person using the gambit, and then also damage the square behind it, making it 1 hit from any weapon. And the person who used the gambit will now become the focus of the demonic beast's attack, regardless of who else it could attack. If all 4 barriers on the demonic beast are destroyed on the same turn, then it will be rendered immobile and completely unable to respond to attacks for the entire turn. You can use this to your advantage so that the units who normally would be killed by the demonic beast can get free hits without any chance of a return fire. So, using these strategies, and then going and helping out Geralt immediately after we finish off these guys, let's take down some demonic beasts. And now, 8 or so demonic beasts later, the level is finally finished. At the end of this level, unfortunately, Geralt will die at the hands of Monica. Byleth tries to use Divine Pulse to undo it and save him, but unfortunately, another member of those who slither in the dark shows up after the Divine Pulse and stops him from saving Geralt. You have a few discussions afterwards with Sothis and then Dimitri and then Rhea, and then it's on to the next month. And that brings us to the end of this video. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. I also really hope it helped. If you need help with the previous level, go ahead and check out my other videos. I already have them uploaded. If you need help with a future level, they're upcoming. I'm still working on it, but they're upcoming, so stay tuned. Anyways, thanks for watching. This has been another Gizmo.